Marco, report on posting the agenda and roll call, please.
Tonight's agenda was posted on Friday, the 2nd of June at 11:38 a.m. Roll call. Commissioner Doyle is absent excused. Commissioner Ellie.
Present.
Commissioner
Marco,
Lewis.
report on
Here.
posting the agenda and roll call, please.
Commissioner Jezebel Moreno. Tonight's agenda was posted on Friday, the 2nd of June at 11:38 a.m. Commissioner Leongart is also absent excused. Commissioner Kushner. Roll call. Commissioner Doyle is absent excused.
Here.
Commissioner Chair Bandal.
Here.
Present.
All right, moving on to public comment. Chair opens for
Commissioner
public
Jezebel
comment
Moreno.
or any items
Tonight's
not
agenda
on the
was
agenda.
posted on Friday, the 2nd of June.
Marco, anything through email or?
Commissioner Leongart is also absent. Yes, we have one public comment. Someone would like to speak on an item not on the agenda. This is for Ashley Canizal. So
Here.
Ashley, please find your way to the
All right,
podium.
moving on to public comment. Chair opens for public comment or any items not on the agenda. Marco, anything through email or?
Yes, we have one public comment. Someone would like to speak on an item not on the agenda. This is for Ashley Canizal. So
Here.
Ashley, please find your way to the
All right,
podium.
moving on to public comment. Chair opens for public comment or any items not on the agenda.
If there's anyone else who would like to give a public comment for an item not on the agenda, please come up to me and fill out a public comment card. It appears there are no public comments for items not on the agenda.
All right, at this time, I'm going to close for public comment. Moving on to item 4, Santa Clara County Valley Transportation Authority Bicycle and
If there's
Pedestrian
anyone else who
Advisory
would like to give a
Committee
public
update.
comment for an item not on the agenda,
Thank you, Chairman Bendall, members of the Planning Commission. This is a new item that we have on the agenda, and Carolyn, excuse me, and pronounce your last name for us, please.
Shenandel.
Shenandel.
Brave
All
enough
right,
for
at this
that.
time, I'm going to close for public comment.
I discovered it means chip.
Moving on to item 4, Santa Clara County Valley
Shenandel.
Transportation Authority.
She is here,
Bicycle
which is
and
on
Pedestrian
the
Advisory.
Valley Transportation Authority Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and she will be attending future Planning Commission meetings and giving you an update on their activities. So Carolyn?
Yeah, and vice versa. Brave enough for that. I don't really have anything.
All right, everybody, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Advisory committee, which was on May
And
11th,
I'll ask
the only
Councilmember Rocco to please lead us in the pledge.
At the planning commission.
And if you could
All
remain
right,
standing
it's 6
afterwards.
o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Projects are being.
And I'll ask Councilmember Rocco to please lead us in the pledge.
I'd like
And
to
if you
call this
remain
meeting
standing
to
afterwards.
order.
Please join me in saying the pledge on this stop. Due date, we'll remember all those that put it all on the line. Ready, salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
But we haven't had the handoff yet.
Remember all those that
Okay,
put it all on the line.
They actually disbanded back in March.
Ready, salute.
Father, tonight I want to pray for our city council meeting. I'm reminded in Proverbs 4, it says, "Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you." So Lord, I pray for wisdom for our youth, liberation set before them. I also pray for our youth in this country, Lord, that
One of the things that Carolyn,
leaders and parents would unify, that
City Commission, but now she'll be.
getting back to setting an example of how to efforts, the importance of hard work, respect for one another, and the value of life.
I don't know.
Starts in our own communities, help us to be better at that organization. Of course, I want to thank you.
We can check.
Continue to bless our first responders.
On the website.
So great to see their emotions in our own fire
All right,
department.
everybody, seated.
And new hires in the police department.
All right, City Clerk's report on posting the agenda.
Yes, Madam Mayor. The agenda was posted on June 2nd at 10:30 a.m.
Roll call.
Councilmember Armendariz is absent. Councilmember Bracco? Here. Councilmember Hilton is
City Clerk's
absent.
report on
Councilmember
posting the
Munoz?
agenda.
Present.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Here.
Agenda was posted on June 2nd.
Yeah.
Here.
Roll call.
At
Okay, under orders of the day, item 1.2, I'm going to pull 10.2, which is not to cause any alarm with the Sharks. Everything's going just fine. But we didn't include the actual agreement in the packet. We'd like to do that on the next council meeting, which is June 20th. The current agreement does not expire until July, so all is well. Just want to make sure why that's being pulled. It has nothing to do with anything going on with the actual negotiations. Okay, item 1.3, employee introductions. And we have introductions and we have a promotion, a couple of promotions. So I'm going to start with the police department. Chief Espinoza.
As a rule of commissioners here.
Okay, item 1.3, employee introductions, and we have introductions and we have a promotion, a couple of promotions. I'm going to start with the police department.
That would be
Chief Espinoza.
Okay, item 1.3,
Just
employee introductions.
Madam Mayor, council, and the public, happy to get a
Moving on, item 5 is consent
David
agenda.
Farmer, retired community service officer of the Detroit Sheriff's Department.
Questions, comments?
David has lived in Gilroy for the past 14 years with great distinguished work experience in the city of Gilroy. This includes working in quality assurance
At Facebook.
position.
There, he was on
and
the surveillance.
as a sales and delivery driver at Diamond. He also worked at Allied Universal where he provided security at Facebook. There he was on the surveillance, bike patrol, he and assistant and trainer as well.
All right.
He has 3 children,
In his
Madison.
spare time, he enjoys taking his family fishing, camping, with yearly trips to the snow and Lake Tahoe.
He'll committee and he
He
has
has our police department and contribute to the
All right.
team. His goal is to provide
In his
excellent
spare time, he
customer
enjoys taking his family fishing, camping,
community members.
with yearly trips to the snow and Lake
Please
Tahoe.
help me welcome
He's
David.
excited to be here at the Gilroy Police Department to contribute to the team, to go and provide excellent customer service to the community, and treat every community member with respect and dignity as they deserve. Please help me welcome
Thank you.
David Farmer.
Awesome. Okay, Chief Wyatt with 2 promotions.
I don't think that there was a vote because it was at the end of the item. So I don't think that there was.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Honorable Council. It's my privilege to introduce to you 2 personnel who have recently been promoted. These firefighters are the next generation of leaders in the department who will continue the tradition of
Thank you,
exceeding.
Madam Mayor and Honorable Council. It's my
First
privilege
one
to introduce
is
you to 2 personnel
Captain
who
Jeff McPhail. Jeff McPhail
These firefighters are the next
has been in
generation
Gilroy
of
for the past
leaders
28 years.
in the department who will
He
continue
was
the
born and
tradition
raised
of
into a
exceeding
family
your
who
expectations.
prioritized community
First
service here
one
at Gilroy.
is
Continuing
Captain
this.
Jeff McPhail.
Jeff is
McPhail
happily
has lived in
married for the
city of
past
Gilroy
11
for the past
years and
28
has
years.
3 amazing kids,
He was born
ages
and
7,
raised into
5,
a
and
family
3.
prioritized
When not at
community
work, Jeff
service
enjoys
in
spending
Gilroy.
time with his wife and kids in the outdoors as much as possible.
Jeff is happily
Jeff has been working
married for
for
the
the
past
department
11
for the
years
past
and
12
has
years
3
in all
amazing
ranks
kids, ages
and
7, 5,
capacities, and
and
looks
3.
forward to the growth and changes.
When
that
not
are
at
to
work,
come.
Jeff enjoys spending time with his wife and kids in the outdoors as much as possible. Jeff has been working for the
I just
department
wanted to
for
say,
the past 12
Honorable
years
Mayor and
in
City
all
Council,
ranks
how
and
excited I am for this
capacities and looks
opportunity,
forward to the growth
and
and changes
nervous
that are to come.
for just this promotional
You'd have to make a
process. I wanted to thank all our administration and our current firefighters that are behind us in this process. I think the direction that we're heading is a great one, and I'm excited
and
for the
nervous
future. Thank you.
just this promotional process, but I want to thank all our administration and our
And
current
the
firefighters,
next person I'd like to
behind
introduce
us in
is
this
Fire
process.
Engineer
I
Joshua
think the direction that
Guerrero.
we're heading is a great one. I'm
Fire
excited
Engineer
for the future. Thank you.
Guerrero is a 21-year veteran for the department.
Thank you.
He began his career as a
Roll call vote.
volunteer for the
And
Second
the next person I'd
Fire
like to
Department,
introduce
formerly
is
Sarasota
Fire Engineer
Fire
Joshua
Department. He
Guerrero.
obtained his EMT from
Fire
Michigan
Engineer
College and then
Guerrero
earned his
is a
firefighter
21-year veteran
at
for
United
the
Technologies.
department. He began his career as a volunteer for the
Josh
Seneca
holds a
County
bachelor's
Fire
degree
Department, formerly
in
Saratoga
social
Fire
science from
Department.
Cal Poly.
Obtained his
Has
EMT
an
from
associate's
Bethesda College
degree
and
in
then
fire
earned
science from
his
Michigan
firefighter
College.
one
Moving on.
He's
at
also
United
in
Technologies.
charge of the department's physical education
Josh
program.
holds a
And I'll just add
bachelor's
that
degree
he's done
in
an excellent job in
social
making
science
sure
from
that
Cal
all of
Poly,
us
and has an
maintain
associate's
our
degree in
stamina
fire
and
science from Mission
our
College.
conditioning.
He's also in charge
He
of the department's
takes great
physical
pride in
education
ensuring all
program.
members
And I'll just
remain
add that
physically
he's
and
done an
emotionally
excellent job
healthy
at
in
making
an
sure that
ever-changing
all of us
and challenging
maintain our
profession. Josh has 2
stamina
young
and our
adult children,
conditioning.
Jacob and Zoe. In his free time,
He
Josh
takes
enjoys
great pride in ensuring
exercising,
all members
traveling,
remain
and
physically and
spending time with
emotionally
his family.
healthy in an ever-changing and
Josh is
challenging
excited
profession.
and honored to
Josh
serve the
has two
department and
young
the community of
adult
Gilroy in
children,
the higher
Jacob
capacity
and
as
Zoe.
newly
In
promoted
his
fire
free
chief.
time, Josh
Be
enjoys
introduced,
exercising, traveling, and spending time with his family.
Madam
Josh
Mayor,
is
City
excited and honored
Council,
to serve the department and community of Gilroy in the
Chief
higher
Wyatt, thank you so
capacity
much
as
for this
newly
opportunity.
promoted fire chief.
Thoroughly enjoyed serving
Introduce
the
Josh.
city, have great memories, serving this community, and look forward to the challenges that await me.
Wyatt, thank you so much for this
Hope
opportunity.
that
Thoroughly
I'll do a
enjoyed
great job
serving
doing
the
so. Thank you so much.
city has great
Thank
memories.
you. It's great to see all your comrades in the audience here supporting too. All right, Daryl, Jordan, we have an introduction of a new employee.
They've done a lot of nice
Comrades in the audience are supporting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, Daryl, Jordan.
Please allow me to
we have
introduce to you another
introduction
excellent
of
addition to our
new
City of
employee.
Gilroy
So
team.
you can see it more in this.
Our new part-time or water conservation officer and public works water section team. Please welcome Robert Moreno here.
Please allow me to
Robert brings a
introduce
variety
you
of work
another
experience
excellent
and
addition to our
a
City of Gilroy team.
multifaceted, well-rounded skill
New
set directed at
part-time or
enforcing
water
the city's
conservation
water
officer,
conservation
public works
policies
water
and
section
programs.
team. Please welcome Robert
A
Moreno.
former Iraq war veteran serving our nation in the United
Robert
States
brings a
Air Force
variety of
Security
work
Forces.
experience and
Robert worked for the Department of
multifaceted,
Defense as a
well-rounded
military
skill set
officer
directed
providing
at enforcing
logistical
the city's
support
water
and enforcing
conservation
laws.
policy and programs.
A greater portion
A
of
former
Robert's knowledge in
Iraq war
water
veteran
conservation and
serving our
maintenance stems
nation
from
in the
being
United States Air
a
Force
lead
Security
technician for
Forces.
backflow and water
Robert
service
worked for the
companies
Department
assisting
of
residents
Defense
and
as a
businesses
military officer
customers
providing
for community
logistical
members
support
in San Juan
and enforcing
Bautista.
laws. A
Adding to
greater
his
portion of Robert's
repertoire of
knowledge
water
in water
knowledge, Robert
conservation
has just
stems from
graduated from
being
Gatlin
a lead
College
technician for backflow and water service
with
companies.
his associate's degree in water
residential
resources,
businesses,
management,
customers
and
for
water
community
technology.
members in San
He'll
Juan
also be
Bautista.
continuing his education as
Adding
he
to
plans
his
to transfer to the
repertoire of water
University
knowledge,
of Monterey
Robert
Bay
has just
State
graduated from
Open it up
Gatlin
to
College.
public comment.
and pursue a
With
bachelor's
his
degree in
associate's degree in water
environmental studies,
resources
minor in
I'm
health
going
and
to
management
call
community.
out the
and
first two
technology.
people
Just
just
prior
so
to
the
joining the
Also
city of Gilroy,
continuing his
Robert worked as a
education as
peer
he plans to
mentor for the
transfer
higher
to the
aspirations
University of
program,
Monterey Bay
also at
State.
Gatlin College, helping former incarcerated students
following
complete their
Michael,
Pursued a
GED
bachelor's
and
degree in
further their
environmental studies
education.
and a minor in health.
Combined with his
Michael,
military
please
water
come
and
up to the
mentorship
Just prior to
interests,
joining the city of
Robert
Gilroy,
will apply
Robert
his
worked as a
experience
peer mentor
and
for the
knowledge
higher
and
aspirations
bears the
program.
massive weight of spreading
Also,
awareness of
Gatlin
the
College,
importance of
helping
water
former
conservation
incarcerated students
efforts,
complete their
something
GED
that affects all
and further their
individuals,
education.
not just in Gilroy, but
Combined his
statewide.
military water and
Outside of work, Robert enjoys the great outdoors, traveling, and trying new foods with his family and their dog. He's also a Golden State Warriors fan. Please help me introduce Robert Moreno.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the warm welcome and the kind words. I look forward to working with everybody, establishing relationships, and solving problems.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Secondly, I've had Daddy back here to introduce here, our new Deputy Public Works Director. Matt is here with his family, as you can see. Our streak of having top-tier talent join us. Thank you. The position of Deputy Director of Public Works is filled by a colossal amount of talent. Please let me introduce to you all Mr. Matt Jones, who's family tonight. Matt has over 18 years of combined local government, special district experience in public works and utilities, and brings an extensive and vast skill set to ensure efficiency and maximize operational services of parks, streets, and sewers. And
Matt has over 18 years of combined local
benefiting
government, special
the
district
city we
experience in
serve.
public works and utilities.
Starting his career as a maintenance worker, Matt has climbed the ranks working at all levels of maintenance, up to positions of heavy equipment operator, utility worker, compliance specialist, and most recently as a public works superintendent with the city of Marina. He's been in the trenches and has seen and done most all of the field of public works operations work. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Matt will apply his experience and knowledge of leadership, budgeting, hydraulics, water quality standards, and brings a compliance-driven focus to effectively manage the delivery of multiple projects on schedule. Throughout his career, Matt has emphasized continuous improvement, quality control, efficiency to cost savings. Matt has a master's degree in public administration from San Diego State University, a master's and bachelor's degree in organizational management from Ashford University in Iowa. He's furthered his expertise in professional development by adding various certifications from the American Backflow Prevention Association, State Water Resources Control Board, and Environmental Association.
Our next public comment.
Moreover, Matt also possesses an HR manager's certification from Cornell University, a board member for the American Public Works Association, member of the Municipal Management Association for both northern and southern chapters, along with other affiliations in our public works association. was born and raised in sunny San Diego, here in California. Outside of work, he enjoys spending time with his wife, Laura, who's not here tonight. She's from the Northern and ER unit. And his three daughters, Piper, 9, Piper, she's over here. Charlie, 6, over here, and Lainey, 2.
Outside of work, he enjoys spending time with his wife.
His hobbies include riding horses, hiking, and camping. Please help me
His
introduce
three daughters, Piper, 9, Piper, Charlie, 6, and Lainey, 2.
Daryl, thanks for the nice introduction. It's a
His
pleasure to
hobbies
be here.
include riding
Excited for the
horses,
opportunity.
hiking, and camping.
I work up in public works. Make a great city. So thank you.
Thank you. Always good to be surrounded in cuteness. Good job. Okay, from finance. Harjot, are you here? Yes, we've got one from finance.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, council, committee members. My name is Harjot. Thank you so much. Finance director. I have the pleasure of introducing Lourdes
Our next public comment will be given by John Taft, followed by Richard.
Lourdes recently joined the city's finance department as our new accountant, and she joins us with over 10 years of professional and governmental accounting experience. She most recently worked with the Union School District, where she gained better experience in fund and fixed asset accounting. And here at the city of Gilroy, Lourdes will be applying her knowledge and skills to perform our day-to-day accounting work, accounting for fixed assets, facilitating the annual audit, as well as preparing the annual financial report.
And here at the city of
Lourdes is a
Gilroy,
quick learner and is
Lourdes
already
will be applying her
experienced
knowledge and
in
skills to
ERP
perform our
systems.
day-to-day accounting
She
work.
possesses a bachelor's degree in accounting from California State San Bernardino and a master's in business administration from California.
This is a quick learner and is already
Outside of work, Lourdes enjoys running, loves outdoor
This
activities,
is a
attending
bachelor's
sport
degree in
events.
accounting
Her favorite teams
California
are
State
the
San
Dodgers,
Bernardino,
49ers,
and a master's
and
in
the
business
Warriors.
administration from the California.
Once again, it's my pleasure to introduce you to
Outside loves outdoor activities and
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm very happy and excited.
Once again, it's my pleasure to introduce you to
I can say so far it's been 2 weeks, and I really enjoy it, being all with my team and supervisors, and I'm just doing what I love, accounting.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 2.1, proclamations, awards, and presentations. We have a retirement proclamation for Patrick Sullivan, who knew we'd be here at this time from high school days. This would be the time that I would be the one reading this for someone who I went to high school with at Gilroy High. Whereas Pat Sullivan has served the city of Gilroy and the Gilroy community for over 34 years, and whereas Pat began his career as Gilroy Police Reserve Officer in February 1988 and transitioned to a full-time Gilroy Police Officer in June 1995. And whereas over his career, Pat has served in numerous assignments to include patrol, school resource officer, field training officer, SWAT, regional auto theft task force, investigator, defensive tactics instructor, DARE officer, and the honor guard. And whereas Pat has dedicated himself to the highest standards of professionalism and excellence as an officer with the Gilroy Police Department. And whereas on June 1st, 2022, Officer Pat Sullivan retired from the Gilroy Police Department with a sincere gratitude and appreciation of the Gilroy City Council for his years of dedication and public service to our fine city. Now, therefore, I, Marie Blankley, Mayor of the City of Gilroy, and on behalf of the City Council, the citizens and employees of Gilroy, join in thanking Patrick Sullivan for his commitment of service and wish him well in retirement for years to come.
Mayor of the city of Gilroy.
Each at the podium.
On behalf of the city council, the citizens and employees of Gilroy, join in thanking Patrick Sullivan for his commitment of service and wish him well in retirement for years to come. Each at the podium.
Before you say a few words, I want to present you with this certificate, and I want to say that I hope the joy of retirement lasts as long as that truck of yours. Okay. So, if you'd like to say a few words.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to give a public comment?
And I want to say that I hope the joy of retirement lasts as long as that truck. If you'd like to say a few words, feel free.
And commissioners, any ex parte communication?
I had a perfect communication in both email, phone, and in person.
Okay. Item 3, presentations to the council, and I did it again. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting, if anybody wants to speak on any item on or off the agenda, please make sure you filled out a yellow card and handed it to our city clerk
Item 3,
so that we are
presentations
aware
to
of
the
how many
council,
people
and
want to
I did
speak
it
on
again.
each
I
item
forgot to mention
and
at the
comment
beginning
on
of the
that.
meeting. If
So
anybody
this
wants
is
to
item
speak on any
3.1,
item on or
the
off the
time for
agenda,
public comment for
please make
items
sure you
not
fill
on the
out a
agenda.
yellow card
So
and hand it
if
to our city
anyone
clerk
hasn't turned
so
in a
that we
card,
are
please
aware
do.
of how
And
many
also,
people
if you
want to
could
speak on
sit
which
in the
item
front
and
row
comment with that.
so that
This
we
is
know
item
to expect you.
3.1, the time for public
Anyone
comment for
for this
items
particular
not
item?
on the agenda.
I have no speaker cards,
If
Madam Mayor,
anyone
at this
hasn't turned in
time,
a
but
card, please
give it a
do,
few
and
seconds.
also
Yeah,
if you
I
could
think we
sit
have a
in the
card.
front row so that we know to expect.
That's okay. Why don't you speak and then, why don't you speak and then fill out the card?
Yeah.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, just so you're aware, and the timer is.
That's okay. Why don't
Introduce
you-
yourself.
Hello, I'm Brian
Speak
Eastlake.
and then-
I've
why don't
lived
you
in Gilroy
speak and then
for
fill out the
47
card.
years. Went to Gilroy High, lived in my residence for 27
Speak
years.
and have 3 minutes.
Professional background conversation.
Right by Miller Park.
Well.
We've had some
I'm Brian
issues
Eastlake.
lately.
I've
We know
lived in Gilroy
all of
for
the issues we've
47
had in
years.
Gilroy.
Gilroy High,
The homeless.
lived in my residence
and the other
for
things that's going
27
on.
years.
But in the last couple of years, it's just gotten even crazy.
We've had some issues
So,
lately. We
recently
know
we've had,
all of the issues we've had in Gilroy.
someone come to the park
with homeless
and camp out there for multiple days.
But in the last
You
couple
guys
of years,
probably
it's
all
just
heard
gotten
about it.
crazy.
You know, the police got
So,
80 to 100
recently we
phone
had,
calls about it. They unloaded their
someone
stuff
come to
out of
the
the
park.
cars. They're out
second
of
that.
city park, sleeping there, smoking.
You guys probably all heard about it.
Roll
I've got
call
pictures. I got pictures all over.
Commissioner Doyle is absent. Commissioner Elliott.
Smoking
They unloaded
man.
their stuff out of the
This is a
cars.
park. This is our community.
They're
I've
out
lived there for 27
city
years.
park,
Just
sleeping
sleeping
there.
there. I'm
Smoking
watching
meth.
kids go there and they want to play there, and we
Got
have people
pictures,
there
I got
that
pictures, all of it.
shouldn't
We're
be
all
there.
there.
You know, I know the homeless problem is a big
Smoking
problem.
meth.
It's a hard problem.
This is a park, this is our community.
I have
Lived
a
there
lot
for
of
27
passion
years.
for it, but there's laws, and it seems like the police and fire are
You know, I know the homeless problem is a
to
big
do
problem.
what they
It's
need
a hard
to
problem
item
to deal with.
and we have to stand by
Commissioner
the
Van
laws
Dalen,
that
we
we
do have a
post.
unique situation.
There's
You know,
laws.
just because the
And
state
it
says
seems like
something
the
doesn't mean our
police
community
and
is.
fire are
You know, our community has been
do what
great.
they
Like I
need
said,
to
I
do.
love Gilroy. Lived here
We
my whole
have to
life.
stand by the laws.
My
that
friends,
we
my
post.
family, my
You know,
wife's family.
just
been here
because the
since
state says something
1800.
doesn't mean our community has.
You know, and
Our community
I look
has
at
been
this,
great.
this
Like I said, I
problem,
love
and
them.
by
Lived there my whole
handcuffing the
life.
police to do the
My
job they
friends,
need
my
to do,
family,
to keep
my wife's
kids
family,
safe,
been here
to
since
play
1800s.
soccer in the park.
You know,
I
and
walk my dog in the park.
I
I'm
look at
looking
this,
at the
this
brand
problem,
new, beautiful
and
school they built.
by handcuffing the police to do the
I'm
job
looking
they
at a
need to do,
daycare.
I'll make
keep kids
a
safe.
motion that we move
Soccer in the park.
4
the
days.
request
I
of
walk
Canada
my dog.
Planning
able
Unit
to
Development
get
I'm looking at
Amendment
the
and
brand new,
Agricultural
beautiful
And they
Services
still
school.
left the gal behind
for
smoking
APN
meth yesterday.
I'm looking at a daycare across the
So,
street from where they're
what I'm saying is,
and
the
it
city
took
council
4 days
needs to come
to be able
together
to get these people
and
to leave.
stand by.
And they still left the
Whatever
guy
the
behind,
state says,
smoking meth yesterday.
as a community, we have to stand together
So,
and protect our
what I'm saying is,
kids.
city
Our
council
community, this is my neighborhood.
needs to come together
And if they were in your
and
neighborhood,
stand
probably
by
wouldn't like it either.
whatever the state says.
So,
what
I'm trying to say is something needs to be done. This is getting worse
Our
and worse.
community, this is my
This is not the community I grew up in.
If they were in
This
your
is
neighborhood,
not the community I
you
raised
probably
my
wouldn't
kids
like
in.
it either.
And
You know, so
and it can't.
what I'm trying to say is
It just
it's
can't.
something needs to be
Losing
done.
good
This is getting worse
citizens,
and worse.
leaving this community.
This is not the
moving to
community I
other
grew up
moving
in.
on
to get away from
new
It's not the
business.
community I raised my
These
kids
are
in.
good tax.
And it
Others
can't
are
go on.
right at time.
Okay.
It just can't.
So
We're
thank you very
losing
much.
good
Point well
citizens,
taken.
we're leaving this community.
Thank you.
Moving to other
Informational items,
communities to get away.
planning, current.
Those are good tax paying,
everybody.
good
My name is Betsy
people.
Bardwell. I also am a neighbor of Brian's.
So thank you very much, and I hope you guys
I've been
do
in the
something.
community as long as
Thank you.
I'm from Chicago, so Chicago girl. But we
Hello,
have
everybody. My name is Betsy Bardwell. I also am a neighbor of Brian.
in our neighborhood. And it
I
all
have
started
been in the
back
community as
over
long
a
as
year
I'm
ago
from Chicago.
when a certain
So
gentleman
Chicago
came
girl.
in and
But
destroyed
we have
decorations. If you don't know, I live on the corner of a street and I have all the decorations.
And it all
Halloween,
started back
Christmas, it's done
over
all
a
day.
year ago.
So
A certain
every year I
gentleman
have to
came
worry
in
about, are the
and
homeless going to come
destroyed
all my time,
decorations.
effort I
If you don't
put
know,
into
I live on the
make my
corner
community
of
happy.
a street and I have all the decorations.
So
Halloween,
here we have
Christmas, it's
people
done
that
up
come and
here.
destroy homeless
So
individuals.
every year I have to worry
Now
about,
we
are the
have
homeless
Sir,
gonna
we're
come
on
destroy
item
this
all my
lady
time
down the street
after I
in
put
our
it.
park. It's illegal to be in the park, to camp out. It's illegal to smoke. It's illegal to do drugs in the park. It's illegal to drink alcohol in the park. And here this lady was doing it for over 4 days. Okay? Not only that, but the bathrooms were closed. So she's camping in the park. Where's she going to the bathroom? She's defecating in the park. She's urinating in the park. I have 2 young kids. Okay? So be in my shoes. We're angry. Okay? This is getting ridiculous. I don't know if you guys are eating out of the DA's pockets or what, but this is getting bad. Okay? We cannot stand for this anymore. So do yourself a favor. Drive around. Look at the homeless situation. If you don't live here, Jimmy, I know you don't live here in Gilroy. Go drive around. Okay? Go drive around and look at the situation that we're in now. It's getting awful. And I want to applaud Chief Mata, your team, your weekend sergeant, above and beyond. Sergeant
Yeah,
Mata.
if you don't talk in the microphone, not only us, but it's not on the video.
Sergeant Dutton went above and beyond. That whole entire day shift team, I applaud them greatly. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I wish we can bring in more officers. We need more cops. We need more cops to patrol these streets. You need to give them better salary, better benefits to compete with all the rest of Santa Clara County, because they're at the bottom. And I know this because my husband is a sergeant, police sergeant for another town. Okay? So Gilroy needs to compete. If you want to bring in good talent, you guys need to raise the bar. If you want to get more people into this town, raise the bar. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, to the city clerk. All right. We have another
I'll fill
one.
out a ticket in a second. Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor. Thank you, Council. I would like to really thank the 2 people, ma'am, sir. I want to really thank you for coming to City Hall and saying what you're saying. People need to know what the heck is going on in our community. And the only way they can find out isn't through the Gilroy Dispatch. It's through folks like you. I hope that you will have other people come and express their opinions too. It's really important. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Reports of council members. Councilmember Bracco.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes, Gilroy Gardens update. For future planning, starting in August on Friday nights, they are going to have family nights. March of 2023, they have their Spring Flower Festival happening. Splash Garden is going to go through a major renovation in the summer of 2023. They're doing a renovation of their event plaza for future proms, winter balls, and other events. And also, if any of you know of any really good 14-year-olds that are hard workers, Gilroy Gardens is hiring 14-year-olds, so that is really great. The Habitat Agency met a couple of weeks ago, and they presented their 2021 annual summary report. Since 2013, they have completed 361 projects. They also have been going after federal funding to build bridges over Highway 152 for the animal crossings in hopes that the animals will not cross on the road and be killed. This last Saturday, the Downtown Business Association had a wonderful wine stroll. Attendance wasn't, I think, what they expected, but it still was a very wonderful event. Everyone there had a lot of fun. In fact, some of us a little bit too much fun. One last thought. At the last meeting, we had a speaker who claimed the school district did not translate the school resource officer survey into Spanish. I had a hard time believing that, since everything the school district sends out is in Spanish and English. I was able to get a copy of the survey since that meeting, which I have here, and it is in Spanish. I also found out that 96% of school district parents are registered on Parent Square, which enabled them to have access to this survey. Plus, every secondary student has a Chromebook, which enables the student and the parents to access the internet And if they do not have internet in their homes, there are many hotspots around town where they were able to connect. I expect that an organization that advocates for youth would strive to be a positive role model and convey accurate information to its intended audience. Since we funded this particular nonprofit at our last meeting, I will consider this a misunderstanding on his part. But I do expect much better this coming year. Thank you.
Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. I want to thank the members of the Economic Development Committee. Last week we had a visit from Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, and we had a really good, long discussion with her, and we came up with some recommendations and some follow-up, which I sent immediately to her. So I look forward to get those response, and hopefully we'll get some more representation out here. Also want to announce that our Downtown Gourmet Alley Ad Hoc Committee meeting will take place tomorrow, and we look forward to coming up with some recommendations to move over to the City Council. I want to thank many of the different businesses that I've and I know many of my fellow colleagues have reached out to, but those that have called me or asked me to come talk with them to learn about the issues and the problems that they're facing and the lack of representation that many feel that they don't have. And one of the promises that I know this committee has made is that we will be a voice for many of our businesses downtown and throughout the city. So I look forward to hopefully bringing back some recommendations at our next council meeting, if not, shortly after. And I also want to thank and acknowledge our city manager, Jimmy. We attended a couple events together this weekend. He ate most of the donuts on National Donut Day, so he didn't save any. But also it was good to see him in downtown at the wine stroll with his beautiful wife. So thank you for coming out.
All right, Councilmember Leroy Munoz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Two quick items. The Silicon Valley Regional Interoperability Authority, that's the group that organizes and collects and coordinates the radio telecommunications among different law enforcement and public safety agencies in the county. We had a meeting last week, and we are going to be bringing on the San Jose Airport as one of the partners to SBRIA going forward. They're going to be joining at the rather high cost of $2,700 per radio that they have, and that is largely because they're buying into a system that's already been established that we've been paying for years. So it's kind of their buy-in. But obviously a network becomes more valuable the more people that are on it. So it's good to have them on board. And our officers in law enforcement and safety will be able to communicate with them as well. The next item is with regard to the Valley Water District. As everyone knows, I serve on that representative group for the city. The Valley Water Board of Directors, a separate body from what I'm on, but they recently approved a program of restrictions on use of outdoor water. And the restrictions will be applied to both businesses and residents. And the outdoor uses that they're really going to crack down on include things like watering an ornamental lawn more than 2 times a week, watering your plants or lawn or whatever between the hours of 9 and 6. If there's excessive runoff of water, that could also be something that could be prohibited. And finally, watering ornamental plants or lawns within 48 hours of a storm that produces 1 inch or more of rain. So new restrictions. The board says they didn't want to do this, obviously, but this is something that they felt was necessary in light of the worsening drought conditions. There'll be a series of warnings and then escalating fines for residents and businesses that don't comply with these restrictions. So residents and businesses, please take note and go visit valleywater.org to make sure you take a look at what those restrictions are. That's it.
All right, thank you. And my report is that this past Saturday, we did the State of the City right here in City Hall, and it was nice to see a respectable number of people attend, quite a few more than normally attend council meetings. That was very nice to see. The meeting was recorded, or the address was recorded, so anyone who hasn't, who would like to see it recorded, please contact either City Clerk Ty or Rochelle Bedell, PIO officer, and she can tell you, one of them can tell you when that will be up and where to find it. AB 2181, that's Assembly Bill 2181 by Assemblymember Mark Berman, that is trying to restructure the governance of the VTA. And that has passed the Assembly, 44-2 actually, so by quite a large margin, and it will now move on to the Senate, State Senate. The VTA board itself on June 2nd took a position of opposition, so where it will go in the Senate, I don't know. I'm just calling it to everyone's attention if that is something that you wish to watch. And lastly, the only other thing I want to mention is council member attendance. You see 5 of us up here. Attendance has now, or absences, I should say, have exceeded more than 10 times now for some. And while you can go to look at meeting minutes to see what who's present and who isn't if you weren't at the meeting, there's nothing that really shows you a cumulative amount. So I'm letting everyone know that going forward, we will try at least periodically to include something in our council packet that at least lets us know when things get to be this many. Okay? And with that, we move on to future council-initiated agenda items.
Mayor, I have one.
Okay.
At a future council meeting, I would like the council to review and possibly update Gilroy's social host ordinance.
Any comments?
No, I have, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I also have an item. For the past few weeks, I've been getting calls nonstop about the homeless in Gilroy. I'm sure the rest of you get them too. And it's out of hand. I've read stories where other cities, San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Francisco, they're enacting camping laws in their city, and they're doing something. And for some reason, we're not doing anything. And I would like our staff to come back and tell us what can be done. Find out from these other cities how they're doing it. If they can do it, why can't we? So that's what I'm asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any comments from anyone? I definitely want to support that. I don't know what other cities, some of the examples you've used. I know that we keep getting told that there has to be a bed available in a shelter in order to move someone along, and maybe other cities have that, and we don't. I don't know, but I agree that it's getting out of hand. I, too, get contacted all the time, and the problem is absolutely escalating. It's escalating, and it's getting scary. Because there are threats coming from all sides, and I can certainly understand why those who have to live in it or with it are having a hard time. So I know
one of the biggest complaints that I'm hearing is people can't use our parks and they can't use our walking trails, and that's who they were built for.
And if I may, and I'm in full support, and I'm going to share a personal story. I actually have a homeless that's been stalking me for almost 2 years now. He's been arrested over 15 times here, and every time he gets arrested, he's right back out, So I think not only the homeless in the parks, but also in our neighborhoods. I mean, because, these folks are walking around smoking meth, knocking on your windows and trying to open up your doors and stuff. So I think, I love what Councilmember Brocco was saying, but I think also what we need is what are some of the solutions that we can get? If it's we take a stricter stance on things, then that's the route that we go. So I agree.
Yeah, I do too. I support it too. If we have enough support, because it's strange that we're going to be talking about secondhand smoke, and then we go and these things that are so much worse just are allowed to just be. So there has to be a reason. Staff, of course, needs council direction for it. So it looks like we are unanimous in asking that this be agendized. And what I'm hearing, to be clear, is that we agendize a full discussion. This is we're not asking for a report on what's the situation. We are asking, what can we do? What kind of direction do you need from this city council in order to actually enforce some of our laws? Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. Great. Any others? All right. Thank you all. Okay. That brings us to item 6, which is the consent calendar. I'd like to well, first, let me ask if anybody wishes to remove an item from consent.
Mayor?
Yes?
I would like to remove item 6.6 from the consent agenda.
Okay, so item 6.6 is being removed from consent, so that can be discussed on its own. So that leaves 6.1 through 6.5. I'm going to open public comment on 6.1 through 6.5. Do we have any speakers?
I received no speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
Okay, closing public comment on those items, and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move approval of 6.1 through 6.5.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember LaRomagnolle, seconded by Councilmember Tovar, and a roll call vote.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Armendariz is absent. Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Lira Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes. All right, item 6.6 then is consent to appointment of our of a new community development director. Councilmember Tovar, do you want to?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. And let me start off by saying, in no way am I questioning the qualifications of this candidate. Looking over the qualifications and just sort of my own research, I think that she would be an incredible fit here. But where my concern comes, and you heard it earlier with fire, police, and within the city, we're promoting hiring within, and these are folks who are in our city and invested in our city. And as you guys know, over the years, I've been a broken record when it comes to local business, but also how we attract folks in our administrative positions that are from the area or are invested in our community. Because as many of you know, I mean, we've all worked probably in different cities. When I'm done with work, I leave, and I'm not invested in that city, And my understanding, this individual is thinking about possibly moving out to the area from Oakland. I, again, have a concern regarding that, where in a position like this, I think it's a very critical position, that it would be nice to know for a fact that someone who takes this position, I don't want to sort of step my boundaries here, but I want to know that whoever we hire in this type of position is going to be somebody who's vested in our community, who knows our community, and will be around and not going to leave right after, the clock hits 5 o'clock. I mean, so I think that's sort of my question, my concern, is in regards to, again, is this an individual that's planning on moving out here? And if so, what's the time frame in regards to that? Because I think we have to have somebody in that position that's from the area. I won't go into salary. I know, I can't talk about that, but I did have some concerns about where this individual is going, and we heard it earlier, and I made this comment earlier, is when we look at these positions, and I understand it's the demand of the positions, I understand that, but I also know that we're in high demand for first responders, police officers, and I just want us to keep an open mind when it comes to what you've heard from many citizens, and obviously about higher pay for our first responders. So I don't want to go on a tangent on that, but I just have a concern about where this person is going to be living, and sort of, I just want some reassurance. And if it's and I don't know what if it's a yearly contract or if it's, what that is there, because again, in a position that's as crucial as this, I would like to have somebody that's local. So, I don't know if somebody can help answer that question.
Well, I'm going to pass it on to Jimmy to answer, but I know that I don't think we can demand that people live in a certain place.
Right. There's a couple of things that I feel I need to point out. As one, I could never publicly describe as an individual employee's living situation. There is nothing we can do legally to force people to live in the area, and I can tell you that if we have that requirement and we hold firm, that we will lose about half of our employees. About half of our employees do not actually live in the city of Gilroy, and that is very common in the Bay Area. I agree with you 100%. I want somebody that is committed to the area, to the community, because I'll be honest with you, I don't like it when people say I don't live here. Right. That doesn't mean I'm not committed, and I don't think that's the standard we want to set. So my commitment to council is that whoever we hire at the executive level needs to prove their commitment to the area, or they won't be successful. Right. They will, if they're here from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, it won't work for them because the community won't trust them. Right. So I wish I could give you a little more reassurance, but I echo your sentiment. Yeah. Living close does make things a lot easier. It makes you better to respond to situations. But I also have to acknowledge the fact that the market doesn't allow us to be very picky exactly where people live when they a lot of times can't afford to live here on a very good salary. So point well taken, Mr. Tovar. I totally get it. But I can't give you that reassurance that, a lot of people would like to have.
Yeah. No, and I thank you for that feedback, and I understand that, many of our current employees may not live here, but could we now possibly moving forward? And again, this is just me. I would rather have somebody local who can do the job than somebody who doesn't live out here, And if that means that moving forward, when we look at our, our top positions, that's one of our requirements, because again, my concern in looking over this individual, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, looking at the resume and, some of the positions that she's been in has been 2-3 years in a very short amount of time. I'm concerned of somebody who's not invested in this community is not going to last here that long, and it's a position that we really, really need. We need somebody who's going to come in here and help us change what we're trying to do. So, that's just sort of my concerns. I want to say I can't vote in favor of it because I want somebody that's local and is being invested in our town and not just leave and, is only here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So I'll leave it at that. But.
Okay. I'm no problem with anything you've said. Just want to point out that the only reason this comes before us is because the Gilroy City Charter requires that the city council approve the qualifications of any director, not the compensation package or any of the details of the circumstances of hiring a person, just their qualifications if you take issue with the person for any reason. So I'm just going to leave it at that and ask for a motion one way or the other on item 6.6. Would anyone like to make a motion? Okay, we have a motion to approve 6.6. Do we have a second? Okay, seconded by Councilmember Leroy Munoz. So that would be a roll call vote. Yes?
No, Madam Mayor, you can e-vote on this one.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may, if I may, again, I'm going to vote no against this. It has nothing to do with the individual.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my concern of sort of what we talked about.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so wait.
I know I have to go along with Councilmember Tovar. I have the very same concerns, and I'll feel much more comfortable when I hear that a person has purchased a home in Gilroy, vested in the community, and not just renting. So I have nothing against this individual, but I'm going to reserve my vote for right now to a no.
Okay, so that motion is not carried.
Yes, there's 3 yeses.
Why does my screen say not carried? But we're only, is that enough?
I believe City Attorney Faber has.
Yeah, I think the question is whether it takes a quorum of 4 people. Any resolution or ordinance of the council takes 4, and I think this would as well.
Takes 4.
I believe, yes.
Okay. If I may add, Mayor, so, and thank you, Councilmember Marks. So, again, let me restate what I'm trying to say. I think this person would be a wonderful asset to the community, but do we know what this individual's plan is in regards to relocating? If I'm told that yes, they plan on moving out to the area, I'll change my vote. No problem.
I don't think that's appropriate discussion, Fred. I'm sorry. Right. I really don't. I mean, I leave that to Jimmy to say, but I don't think we can be discussing where a person wants to live. We discuss that at all levels. We get requests for people to live way far away.
Yeah, I would be reluctant to do that. It's just not fair to the individual. That's a personal and personnel decision. So,
excuse me, can I shortcut this? I think what I said is probably incorrect. The charter does say that resolutions and ordinances must require 4 votes. Normally, for business of the council, though, it requires a majority of the quorum. We do have a quorum. We have 5 people, and therefore, I believe, in fact, that a 3-2 vote would appoint this person.
Okay. Thank you. Are we good to move on?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
All right, item 7, bids and proposals. 7.1, AWS Data Center Environmental Impact Review, award of consulting contract. Cindy is going to give us this report.
Good evening. As you mentioned, Amazon Web Services has submitted an application for a data center in the industrial zone near the Gilroy outlets. and staff submitted sent a request for proposals for an environmental impact report. We received 4 proposals, and based on the ranking criteria, staff is recommending Circle Point for this contract. And I will say that there will be a number of public hearings to discuss the environmental impact report and receive public comment. With that, staff is recommending that the council award a contract to Circle Point in the amount of $175,000. That includes approximately $159,000 base contract and $16,000 contingency for preparation of the AWS Data Center EIR, and authorize the city administrator to execute the contract and the associated documents. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, questions?
Madam
Yes.
Mayor, I apologize. I should have done this earlier. Through my day job, I work with Amazon. They are one of our clients, so I apologize.
Even Amazon Web Services?
Yes.
Because that's what this is. Okay.
That is correct. So
Okay.
I will be recusing myself. I
All right.
apologize.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so it's questions of staff. So Councilmember Tovar is on the screen.
Thank you, again, Mayor. Question, I know this, the RFP was sent out to 11 different consultants, and this one here was chosen. I didn't see the others in here in regards to who else sort of submitted, and sort of a comparison. You know, we usually do a comparison. You know, and I know they're local. I mean, they're in San Jose, but it'd be nice, and I know I've asked for this many times, to have a comparison of the different, you know, companies that are sending proposals or requests, because, you know, I always like to see where people are coming from, who was hired, or, you know, just to see where they're from, and not knowing who else applied is a little concerning to me. So again, I'm going to vote in favor of this, but it'd be nice to, in the future, to have, when things come up like this with contracts, that we have a listing of all the different companies that applied. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the council? Okay, I'd like to open the public comment.
I received no public comments, Madam Mayor.
All right, closing public comment. Looking for possible action.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Bracco, seconded by Councilmember Tovar to award this amount to Circle Point. All right, and that is digital voting. And so that's unanimous with the 4 of us that remain. Okay, Peter, please come back. Okay. All right, item 7.2, award a contract to Ausonio Incorporated. I hope I pronounced that correctly. In the amount of $499,052 for the Cherry Blossom Apartment refurbishment project. And Walter Dunkel is going to give us this report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. As some of you may know, the city of Gilroy owns an apartment building directly across the street from the train station. This has 2 double bedroom units and 5 single bedroom units upstairs, and then there's 3 storefront units on the floor, on the base floor. This building was built around 1929 and is approximately 8,000 square feet. The apartments at Cherry Blossom provide important low-income housing for the community. A council goal is to provide the availability and safe, affordable housing for all Gilroy residents. This project supports this council goal. Since the city took ownership of this building in 2010, only small-scale repairs and replacements have been made. Due to the age of the building, a more complete refurbishment is needed at this time in both the apartments and the commercial spaces. Due to health and safety issues, there is an urgency to moving forward with this project so that the vacant units can be made available and rented to members of the community in need of low-income housing. The work to be included would be painting of the exterior building face, replacement of the entry door structure and front door to prevent intrusion, replace bad sections of fencing and add lockable trash enclosure, replace flooring throughout with new interior paint, replace the hot water recirculation line, which has encountered many leaks, and drywall replacement for areas affected by those leaks. Replace bad countertops, some cabinets, and most appliances, some toilet, mirror, and light replacements where necessary, other small repairs to be expected for rental units. During the bid selection, we utilized Sourcewell's procurement process for competitive bids and to expedite the process. Sourcewell is a public agency with the legal authority to serve as a contracting agency for other public agencies. The City of Gilroy has used Sourcewell's procurement process in the past, primarily for purchasing vehicles. California Government Code Section 6500 authorizes public agencies to participate in cooperative purchasing agreements such as Sourcewell's. We selected Osonio Inc., given their experience, references, and pricing offered. The cost for all the work with a 7% contingency is $499,052. This price was verified as fair and reasonable for the work and consistent with Sourcewell's bidding requirements. Project funding. From the Housing Trust, we would propose to take $250,000. From the General Fund, $150,000. And from the Facilities Fund, $99,052. Project work would begin in July and completion by November of 2022. Current tenants are very excited for these improvements and have been very cooperative in the process. Recommended actions: adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gilroy amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget to and appropriate $499,052 for this project, $250,000 from the fund balance in the Housing Trust Fund, $150,000 from the General Fund, and $99,052 from the fund of the General Balance Facilities Internal Fund. Award a construction contract in the amount of $499,052 to Osonio Inc. for the refurbishment of the Cherry Blossom Apartment Building, and authorize the city administrator to execute the related contract documents and approve any future change orders, and items within the approved project budget. Any questions?
Okay, yes, thank you. All right, council members, questions? I know I have one, but any others first? Go ahead, Peter.
So first, thank you for the report. With regard to the repairs that are going to be made, will that open new units for, or
Yes, there will be. There's currently 3 unoccupied apartments and one unoccupied storefront, and this work would make those available as well as refurbish the currently inhabited units.
And the storefront, would that also be available to?
Yeah, that's correct. That would be available for rent after this work.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do these improvements include the exterior of the building, so how it looks from Monterey Street?
Yes, so we've already done one small improvement. We've changed the awning about 6 months ago, and for this work we would be painting the front face of the building and the trim as well as replacing the front door and the structure that holds front door.
That's great, thank you.
Mayor, I have a quick question.
Yes, Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you. Going back to my little rant about sort of local business, I see that you guys chose them, you interviewed them. How many other companies were interviewed?
So that was the only company we interviewed. They were the So in Sourcewell's, Sourcewell sent out a public bid to, advertise in many different cities. So the nearest city was San Jose that it got advertised in. And they have, that was the closest contractor that we had on their list. There were some from Southern California, some from Northern California.
Yeah, no, and I know this company is from Castroville, which is local, which is good. But going back to what my request earlier, I would like to see moving forward a listing of all the different companies that submit a proposal.
So one of the things that I think might discourage some of the businesses in Gilroy is that this project needs to meet extensive prevailing wage requirements, and so this often discourages some smaller local, companies. But
no, and I actually appreciate that information. That's good. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, seeing no other questions from council, I'm going to open public comment.
I received no speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
All right, closing public comment. So looking at possible action.
Move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
I've got a motion to approve by Councilmember Tovar. I heard the second from Councilmember Marks first, and this is a roll call vote.
I think let's assume that this motion is for all three items.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. We should.
Correct.
It'll still be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Armendariz is absent. Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Leroy Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley.
Yes. All right, so that passed.
thank you very much.
Did someone not vote electronically? Do you need us to vote electronically? There we go. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to 10.1. This is introduction of new business, consideration of entering into an agreement with Visit Gilroy for tourism-related economic development services and adopting a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gilroy, amending the budget for the City of Gilroy for fiscal year 2022-2023. And Bryce will give us this report.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Starting in 1996, Gilroy Visitors Bureau was formed, which is now called Visit Gilroy, and started operating a visitor center in 2001 for 5 days a week. A verbal agreement with the city was established to fund the operation, starting at $200,000. In the staff report in your agenda packet is a further history of the development of Visit Gilroy and where it stands today. But some key points is the contribution to Visit Gilroy increased twice in the past, and once in 2008 to $250,000, and then in 2011 it was increased to $300,000. This was associated with the visitor center going from 5 days a week to 7 days a week of service. For the past 11 years, the contribution has not been adjusted to account for inflation. Since 2001, the amount of contributions have been included in the city's budget process. However, we have not had a written agreement in place. So staff has prepared and submitted to council an agreement for approval on the city's standard agreement to document the agreement formally for the next 5 years. The agreement was unanimously approved by Visit Gilroy's Board of Directors back on May 26th. The agreement does include an increase of $50,000 to a total of $350,000 in the next fiscal year, and an inflator tied to the Bay Area Consumer Price Index. A budget amendment is also included in the packet for next fiscal year to appropriate the additional $50,000 from the general fund. That completes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bryce. Okay, so questions of council members, if you want to either get in the queue or I'll just look. Okay, Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm in one of those moods tonight. I have a question for you. And I know the great work that they do, don't get me wrong, but I'm a little concerned about this. Can you or someone tell me, I understand what they do. I understand they bring visitors to Gilroy. But when you look at economic development, I also look at that as bringing businesses to Gilroy. Do you know, over the years, has the Welcome Center been solely responsible for bringing any businesses to Gilroy?
I think it would be best to have the President and CEO, Jane Howard, talk about that.
Jane.
Thank you, Councilmember Tovar. We fulfilled quite a few fulfillment requests from businesses and individuals looking to relocate in Gilroy, and we, on a regular basis, fill those requirements.
I'm sorry. Okay. No.
Does that help you?
No, not necessarily. Actually, I'm looking for some sort of documentation, some proof of these are the companies that we've helped bring to Gilroy?
No, we partner. We partner with the Gilroy Economic Development Partnership. We partner with the Chamber of Commerce. We're part of the welcome group when businesses are interested in coming to Gilroy. We actually done that a couple of times with a couple of businesses. Whenever they said, tell us about Gilroy, and we were there at the table. So we're always been considered an economic development partner.
Right, and then when I look at, one of the things I know I and many council members over the years have talked about is the concern of how much funding we're giving out to consultants. And I think in here, a nice chunk of it is going to a consultant, correct?
Yes.
And I guess
which is a new relationship.
Right, which is concerning to me. This is where my concerns come. And then just in reading in the scope of services, it says promoting Gilroy as a visitor's destination.
Correct.
Right? And it goes back to, I would like to see, as we talked about, what businesses are they helping to bring to Gilroy? Because obviously that's part of the economic development.
Yep.
Right? And then I'm not sure what it means by serve as a first point of contact for travel writers' assistance.
Yes.
I'm not sure what that is.
So when media wants to do articles about Gilroy to let folks know about what to do here, they contact us. So we do, for example, we've got digital influencers coming into town. We have tour groups come into town. We have what they call fam trips come into town. We do that oftentimes in partnership with Visit California and the Central Coast Tourism Council. In addition, I want to point out that Visit Gilroy and the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce were the key partners that brought the economic development group together to bring forward the 3 initiatives that this council is supporting, the 536, the Sharks Initiative, and Gourmet Alley.
Good. Okay. Thank you. And then my next question here says enhance visitor services in the community through training programs.
Yes.
What is that? If you can elaborate on that.
So those kind of services, we've actually, not recently, pre-COVID I'm talking about, we've actually worked with the Chamber of Commerce in helping to provide training services for businesses to help them provide services to our guests and our visitors. So, like I said, it's been several years because of COVID, but we've always been at the table and helping. The whole community is a welcome group for visitors, and businesses oftentimes don't know what that means. And we've, again, partnered with the Chamber on that.
Okay. And then my last question, and I guess for me, going back to, $350,000 is a lot of money.
It is. And to operate a California Welcome Center 363 days a year.
Right.
And we're finding right now, as we're out there looking for individuals to replace the position I currently fill, that we are way below market rate on all of our salaries.
Right. No, and I know how valuable you guys are, and that's not what I'm questioning. But when we look at sort of what, we get at the end annually, the reports, we get a report on visitors, traffic information, number of walk-ins, number of calls. That's, and I understand the other stuff that goes around that, but for me, I'm looking for a little bit more than that,
So what else would you like?
Well, like I said, I think for me, when we talked about being a recreation destination, you talked about, being economic development. I'm always going to look at, well, what are they helping to generate for the city? What type of businesses? A report that talks about, we talked to these 10 companies, and this is what, information like that. So I say, yeah, you know what? They're actually out there not only bringing visitors, but they're bringing companies jobs to Gilroy, and I think that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and we don't, we're a partner. And, oftentimes when a company is considering moving to a community, they're looking at the amenities that a community has. Right. Do you have wineries that they're, when you live here, can they enjoy? Do we have a place like Gilroy Gardens to take their families? Do we have outdoor recreation? Do we have an incredible outlets that you don't have in most communities? Even our Welcome Center, we're only one of 21 in the state. That's a big deal. So that, to me, is a sense of pride.
Right.
And you want to say, I work and live in Gilroy, and look what we have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But for me, it's just getting that information and being able to.
Absolutely. We're glad to. You want data? Oh, we can provide data.
Right.
And your council member who sits on this board, also Corinne Decker, who sits on this board, we can provide any kind of data you want.
Perfect. Thank you.
You'll bet.
Okay, we've got a line up there, sorry. So Councilmember Marks is next?
Yes.
So then, in other words, if I understood you correctly, this extra $50,000 is going to be enhancing the services that are already there, or is it going to go specifically to a consultant?
Well, we're the consultant.
Oh, you're the, wait a
We're-
minute.
We're it.
You're it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then it's an enhancement of the services that you're already providing?
Yes, and Councilmember Marks, because we've maintained our same revenue that we've been receiving from the city at $300,000 since 2011, our expenses have gone up considerably, and including now we pay rent that we initially didn't. And I think all of you probably see cost of living expenses personally as well as within this community. We've never asked for anything further. Again, when we became a California Welcome Center in 2018, that then added another level of, I would call, the services that we provide, because we now also can talk about not only the local area, but also the state of California and the Central Coast. So that's all enhanced services.
I see. Who else funds you? Is it just the city?
We have the city that funds this California Welcome Center. We have a tourism business improvement district that is assessment of the hotels at 2%. That goes to marketing for overnight stays. California Welcome Centers and overnight stay marketing are two different budgets.
Okay.
And then we have a small retail.
Okay, great. What is your budget for the year?
We have, this year it's going to be right at $675.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Bracco's off the board, so okay, Councilmember LaRomanos.
No, Jane, I'm not going to have any questions. I'm just going to make a comment.
Oh,
real
thank you.
fast.
Okay.
I'll let you off on this one. But yeah, it's just, I've always appreciated the data that you've given. And I think I said this one time after you presented a couple of years ago, but it's like you can't improve what you don't measure. And you guys do a really, really good job of that. So
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. And then with regard to, the business development side of things, I think you guys have also been a very strong partner in some of the different projects we've looked at. And at the risk of bringing up a sore subject, I know how involved you were with like Gray Wolf and, all the other projects that we've looked at over the years. So I'm very much aware that, you've been a vocal and active partner. And I think that the tourism aspect of what we do here is so incredibly important because that's our differentiating factor. That's the advantage that Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Los Gatos, they don't have. So I can appreciate all that you guys have done and see this as a valuable investment.
Thank you. I know one of the projects that we're very, very, very proud of, as I was reflecting back on the 17 years I've been doing this, is being the lead for the wayfinding program here in the city. We didn't have any wayfinding system until the city of Gilroy said, visit Gilroy. We know you can pull this off. We did the RFP. We brought in the local company, Articulate Solutions, to get it done. And we get so many comments and compliments about our wayfinding system. So that's just one of many projects we're so proud of. And you probably don't want to get me going here, but there's so many things that we can all be very, very proud.
And I forgot one last thing.
Yes.
The Lantern Festival over at the garden, saw that several times, was awesome.
We made the trip to China.
That was awesome. Very cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'd like to comment too, and then it looks like Councilmember Tovar wants to go again.
Okay.
So I want to say how much I appreciate the data that I feel like you always bring. It's always data driven, and the reports that you share, and the fact that I know it's not going to be you going forward because you're retiring, but the fact that you've always been so available. Any questions I have ever had or any concerns about how the organization operates, you're right there, a phone call away. So I'm very comfortable with how I feel about this because I feel like I know I've been able to ask my questions. I didn't need to just do it here, like
Sure.
in this manner. So I want to say thank you for that, and I will pass this on to now Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. This is actually a question to my city manager. It's for a 5-year contract. Is that typical when we do something like this for that length of time?
Yes,
It
it's
is?
very typical.
Okay, that's all I need. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'm sorry, Councilmember Bracco.
Yeah, Jimmy, since we're losing the director of the center. What happens if, say, next year or the year after, it just sucks? Can we get out of the contract? Because this happened with the Economic Development Corporation.
Yes, there are termination provisions within the contract. I don't remember exactly. Usually it's 30 days or 60 days or something like that. Okay. But there's a way out.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open the public comment period.
I received
at
no
this
speaker
point.
cards for this at this time, Madam
No
Mayor.
speaker cards. Okay, closing public comment. And so possible action.
I'll make the motion for approval.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Okay, a motion made by Councilmember Tovar, seconded by Councilmember Marks, to approve the agreement and authorize the city administrator to execute, and it can be done in one motion, right? And to adopt a resolution amending the fiscal year 2022-23 operating budget. All right, roll call vote.
Councilmember Armendariz is absent. Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Leroy Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley.
Yes, and that's unanimous with the 5 of us present. All right, 10.2 is pushed off to our next meeting, and so that brings us to 10.3. Okay, Willie House lease amendment, staff report, Jimmy? Oh, Corinne, sorry, my thing says you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. This evening, I have before you a request to amend the single tenant lease by and between Advantage Peak LLC and the City of Gilroy for the building located at 140 5th Street, also known as the Willie House. The original lease was signed on March 1st, 2020, right before, as you well know, all the COVID restrictions went into place. The original term of the lease was 60 months, with 3 two-year options to extend for a total of 11 years. The lease outlined the use to be exclusively for special events. However, in light of COVID and the many recurring shutdowns, restrictions on how many people could gather indoors, and on events, the town's ability to use the premises as an event or gathering, or as an event center, was really limited. And in the 2-year period that followed, any events that had been booked were canceled and no new events were held. So as a result, the tenant decided to explore the use of the space to allow for a more sustainable business model and came to staff in February with a request to amend the terms of the lease to allow this space to be used for a Santa Clara County wine tasting venue. So last month, council met in closed session, discussed possible terms, and the proposed amendments to the lease are before you this evening for consideration and consist of the following provisions: to amend the use of the premises to allow for the use both indoor and outdoor for general office purposes, the operation of a wine tasting facility identified as South County Wine Tasting Room, and also special events. It would allow for tenant improvements and a reimbursement provision, which would allow the tenant to make certain improvements needed to convert the space into a wine tasting venue. Some of those improvements would be general in nature and benefit the overall value of the building, including electrical, plumbing, installation of new flooring, construction of a commercial kitchen, interior paint, lighting, fixtures, landscaping, hardscaping, and the like. For these improvements, if properly completed, documented, and inspected within a 24-month window, could be eligible for reimbursement by the landlord, which in this case is the city, for an amount up to $100,000 should they meet all the conditions outlined in the lease amendment. Finally, there's a provision to delineate the landlord and tenant's responsibility more clearly for maintenance and repair of the premises, whereby the landlord would be responsible for all of the major life and safety and structural conditions, and the tenant would be responsible for interior paint, fixtures, doors, windows, hardscapes, and landscaping. As the tenant has identified that the current business model for this facility is not financially viable, staff does recommend approval of this amendment. The fiscal impact would be, up to $100,000 in reimbursement to the tenant for any of those general tenant improvements. This amount would be partially offset by revenue to the city from the facility through rent payments, and any difference or balance between revenues and rent and reimbursements would have to come from the city's general fund balance. And this would occur if needed at a mid-cycle fiscal year 2023 or 2024 adjustment, if necessary. So with that, I would conclude and happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. All right, council. Looking to council first. Okay, then maybe it's just me that has questions then on this one. Thank you, Corinne, for that report. I just have a question on use of premises. How is this request different than the existing lease? That's I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the existing lease allowed the use for special events and exclusively for special events, really. And this, it would allow its use to be also for a wine tasting venue, which was not specified in the original lease.
Right, and it's not considered a special event because that it could be used for that daily. Is that why?
Yes.
Okay, so does this impact the hours of operation for the facility? Or no, or the hours of operation for the facility the same as they were under the previous lease?
I think that it would.
If I may?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the hours remain the same, and also the requirement that the tenant comply with all city ordinances, including noise ordinances and zoning and so on. So that's not changed.
Okay, so then I don't see this as that much of a change, actually, right?
Yeah,
It's
it
the
allows,
same.
it allows the commercial use of the wine tasting facility. That's really the change.
Right, on it, and, right, and a
Which
special
would-
event could have been there every single day, but you don't do special events every day, so that's where, yeah.
Right, right.
really.
Special
Okay.
events were always allowed, they still are.
Right.
But the commercial activity of the wine tasting facility is new.
Okay, and then you said the 100,000 is offset by rent. What do you mean by that?
I
The
mean-
100,000 is what?
If the 100,000 is even, so the way that the amendment is written is that certain tenant improvements could be reimbursed if they're properly done, well documented and inspected, et cetera, within a 24-month window. And then the conversion, and these are the tenant improvements that would be general in nature, and then coupled with the tenant improvements that would be needed to operate the wine tasting facility, which the tenant is solely responsible for, would result in, ongoing revenue for the business and then the payment of rent for the remainder of the term is how I understand it.
Okay, but I want to clarify, I asked these questions for the benefit of the public too,
I
not just
understand.
for myself. Right, that what we're doing part of what we're doing by amending this lease is saying that up to $100,000 of certain kinds of improvements, the kind that we consider of value to the building itself, up to that amount will be paid for by the landlord, right? And not by the tenant. That's what we're saying. Okay, thank you. Councilmember.
Right. And the tenant will be paying rent. There's no rent abatement.
Yes.
In other words, the tenant pays rent, but the city will reimburse up to $100,000 rather than abating rent, which had been an earlier request.
Right, no, understand, right. They'll continue to pay rent, right, unless they're the ones out of, we're not going to offset. That was the term that I was trying to
It's confusing.
correct earlier. It's not an
Yeah.
offset.
You're right.
It is, they will continue to pay rent, and up to $100,000, we, the landlord, will cover certain improvements.
Correct.
Yep, I am clear. Okay, Councilmember Marks.
Yes, just to refresh my memory, how late can they stay open for events?
I would have to look at what the requirements would be for wine tasting venues, but I believe it's 5 or 6 o'clock is when most wine tasting rooms are open until. I'll have to look. I'm sorry, I don't have that.
Okay, because I think our tenant, and correct me, Councilmember Tovar, I think he was envisioning 9 o'clock. And so when you said that, I thought we've got a discrepancy that he might not be aware of.
I don't have the lease here, but my recollection is it allows evening operations up till 9 or 10.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Yeah, that's
I'm pretty sure of that,
And
yeah.
and it might be. I'm not sure either.
And that has not changed, as I said, and again,
It might
it's
be
subject to
different
the
during the
city's
week,
noise
too.
ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't actually see a time limit in the lease, but it
Well,
does say the ordinance.
This
yeah.
is only the amendment to the lease.
Oh.
The time is in the basic lease. That's not amended.
Okay.
Andy or Mayor?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a very good question that was brought up. I mean, just, and I think it's important because Andy and Corinne talked about it. You know, I look at it as, you know, for example, we have the wine bar downtown that's open, you know, late, you know, not, and I just want to make sure we're clear on what those hours are, because if he's under the understanding 9, 10 o'clock and we say, no, it's 5 o'clock, then it's a huge, yeah, so.
It is whatever it says in the original lease.
Okay.
Which he already is obviously a party to.
Perfect.
Right, that is not changing.
That's correct.
Right, so that is not part of what we're discussing tonight is an amendment to the original lease, and that's not, the time is not being amended, which makes sense when you could have had wedding events there before too.
Right.
And, you know, you're not going to have a wedding reception that ends at 6 o'clock unless you
No.
had your wedding at 10 o'clock in the morning, which I did, but not everybody does that. Okay. 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 No, I wanted the whole day. All right. I'm going to open public comment.
I received no speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
Okay. And closing public comment. Any other discussion? Okay. Then a motion. If anyone is ready.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilmember Bracco made a motion to adopt the to adopt a resolution of the City Council authorizing.
No. It's just approving the amendment.
Approving the amendment. That's it. Okay. And seconded by Councilmember LaRoe Munoz. And digital voting is okay.
And Mayor, as I did the first time, I'm going to abstain from this vote, obviously, because of my friendship with him, so I don't want to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that passed 4 with 1 abstaining. Okay. 10.4. Adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gilroy authorizing the city administrator to execute agreements with the California Department of Transportation for the City of Gilroy's Clean California Grant Project. This one says Corinne. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the Gilroy City Council. As you all are, I'm sure, aware, in March of 2022, the city was awarded a $3.9 million grant through the California Department of Transportation Clean California Local Grant Program. The grant award was given to fund cleanup events and infrastructure improvements along Gourmet Alley and Railroad Alley. And now that the city has been awarded the grant, our grant program manager for Caltrans assigned to the city is advised the next step in claiming the funds which have been awarded is the adoption of the City Council resolution, which is here before you tonight, authorizing the city administrator to execute the restricted grant agreement with Caltrans, associated documents, and any amendments. The adoption of the resolution is recommended as a necessary next step towards accessing the $3.9 million grant for this project. And the resolution is attached in your council packet. So,
thank you. Anybody have questions? All right, public comment. Do we have any?
No public comments, Madam Mayor.
All right, closing public comment. Anyone like to make a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
All right, made by Councilmember Marks, seconded by Councilmember Tovar. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Almendarez is absent. Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Leroy Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes. All right, that's unanimous with 5. All right, 10.5. Approval of capital improvement plan projects for funding by Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017 for SB1 funds. Daryl, hello.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. As you may recall, each municipality is required to list the potential upcoming street segments scheduled for rehabilitation each year prior to receiving SB1 grant monies. SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, was passed by legislature and signed into law by the governor in April of 2017 in order to address the significant multimodal transportation funding shortfalls statewide. It includes accountability and transparency provisions that will ensure the residents of our city are aware of the projects proposed for funding in our community. The City of Gilroy is estimated to receive $1.17 million in this fiscal year for our 2022 project, which was awarded to a local contractor, by the way. And we're expected to receive $1.29 million in our next fiscal year, 22-23, from SB1 funds. In your packet tonight is a list of approximately 3.9 million square feet of road projects for next year. Of course, the cost of construction and labor for these projects is unknown at this time, so we'll have to see how many of those projects we can actually accomplish next year with the costs that are out there. The attached resolution, once approved, will be sent to the California Transportation Commission for approval to allow the city of Gilroy to receive its share of the SB1 local pavement maintenance funding for next year. I'm here to answer any questions you might have on this tonight.
All right, thank you. Council members, any questions? Okay, I'm just going to ask one that I already asked Daryl so that everybody's privy to the same information, and that is the actual resolution that we're going to discuss, talk about passing, is one that tells us how much SB1 money we are accepting or getting, and that will go towards the road improvements. The streets that are actually listed in this report, correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, they are for the upcoming year.
Yes, ma'am.
This year, the streets that are being done this year, and as everybody knows, we have a 5-year plan. This year's streets, we all got a list of in our April 18th packet when we approved the funding for that. So you can see a lot of streets that are getting attention from April 18th, and then you can see in tonight's packet the ones that are scheduled to get improved in the next fiscal year. So it's looking good. May not be as good as we'd all like, but it's pretty darn good. Right. Great, thank you. Okay, any public comment?
No speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
All right, closing public comment. Back to council to adopt a possible resolution.
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Leroy Munoz and seconded by Councilmember Tovar to adopt this resolution. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Armendariz is absent. Councilmember Bracco? Yes. Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Leroy Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes. Great.
Thank you, Council.
Passes unanimously with those here. All right, item 11, city administrators reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm going to give you a quick update about the summer swimming program, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle Bedell for the update on the city's social media strategy. After a 3-year hiatus, the City of Gilroy Recreation Program summer swimming will kick off on June 14th at Christopher High School Aquatic Center. It has had an enormous amount of response, and registrations are filling up. This will be our first time back in 3 years, and at this time we are able to open the pool and for open swimming and for swimming lessons and for group lessons as well. There are some parts of the program that are not quite running yet, but we expect to have those up in a future program, which includes water slides and a water play area and items like that. Due to state inspections, insurance, employee staffing levels, we opened what we could. So we hope that Gilroyans enjoy what we have to offer, but we also want to make sure that everybody knows we're working to open everything back up as soon as we actually are really out of COVID, which we thought we were out of a few times, but we are where we are. The next thing I wanted to give you an update on is on Saturday at City Hall here, we had a mattress collection event, which was very successful. Over 200 mattresses were recycled, and that means they didn't end up somewhere along a road or in a creek, which makes all of us very happy. I do want to give a couple of thanks. One to Kevin Huddleston and Steve Wilson from the Public Works Department, who did a phenomenal job of traffic control. Vehicles, minivans, trucks, you name it, came, and they did a great job of making sure people got in and out and on their way. And I also want to thank Rochelle Bedell, who you wouldn't think that the Public Information Officer of the city actually would organize and run the mattress collection program, but that's what makes some of our employees special. They really don't look at the job title or the job description. They just jump in and say, we got to get this done. And so this was our 3rd time doing it. I believe we've collected over 700 mattresses over the last 2 years. And we'll do another one in about 6 months. So a very successful program, and thank you for everybody's cooperation and help with that. So having said that, I will now turn it over to Rochelle's real job, which is public information and our social media strategy update.
All
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me here tonight. We wanted to give you a quick update on some of the changes and improvements that we've made to our social media strategy over the last year or two. We thought it might be informative and just kind of an interesting thing to look at. So overall in the city, we have approximately 14 communication channels. The majority of those are on Facebook and Instagram, and many of these are run by individual divisions and departments throughout the city. The ones that are focused on by my department are the main communication channels for the city. So that includes the main channels for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Nextdoor, and LinkedIn. You'll notice that over the last year or two, we've added 2 new channels. One of those is on Facebook, that's Gilroy City Hall Meetings. That was a channel that we created specifically for our boards, commission, and committee meetings so that we'd have a place to stream those during COVID. The other one that we've created in the last year is our LinkedIn account. So that's the City of Gilroy on LinkedIn. On our LinkedIn account, we are currently focusing on recruitments, and we're also focusing on some staff highlights, which we'll talk more about in a few slides. We have a couple of new ongoing campaigns, some that were started during the pandemic or during the early days of COVID, and some that we've developed a little bit more recently. One is our TBT posts. We have our communications assistant who works closely with the Historical Museum to develop these and to curate the photographs and information behind them. We've also been working a lot harder recently with our recruitment posts. So these are ones we work with HR to really highlight some of the opportunities we have within our city. Lastly, focusing on commemorative holidays, so recognizing socially significant holidays and socially significant months, and really focusing on the facts and the data, the historical significance of some of those holidays. We also have some interdepartmental campaigns, and this is a bit new as well, really partnering with other departments and some of their initiatives to make sure that we're developing a comprehensive campaign that helps to tell the story that they need to get out there. So these tend to be a little bit more high profile, high priority. Some examples of that are the Expect Fentanyl. We're looking at defensible space, wildfire preparedness, and then one that you'll see up and coming is our fireworks preparedness, fireworks information campaign. Another initiative that we've really been pushing this last year is the translation in our posts. This mainly goes out on Facebook, but really looking at reaching our Spanish-speaking community. And for the most part, what we're finding is that they're on Facebook. So we've been focusing on taking the translation that comes to us through the email express and really pushing that out on Facebook. In the past, we've done 2 separate posts, so one in English and one in Spanish. And in the recent weeks and months, we've been looking at if it will work if we do English and Spanish combined in one post to try and clean up the feed a little bit, because we're having a lot of, we just have a lot of information going out right now, so we're just trying to clean it up. So we're going to be watching the numbers and see how successful that is over the next few months. And then currently, we have an experimental campaign called Team Tuesday. This campaign is really about connecting the community with the heart of our organization, which is our team. It takes a lot to run a city, and through the Team Tuesday campaign, we hope to share the variety of jobs, assignments, skills, and efforts that go into keeping things going each and every day. So these come out on Tuesdays right now. We're currently posting them about every other week, sometimes a little bit longer in between. But really looking at our recreation department, our building inspectors, our hazmat inspectors, things like that, and really highlighting the work that they do for the city. And then with your help, we were able to implement and adopt our social media policy. So we're currently working with staff to really get everyone on board, get everyone, all of their, contracts signed so that they're authorized users to be administering city social media platforms. So we're working through that process now and getting everything in place. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Bracco.
Thank you, Rochelle, for that report. I just wanted to say that the Throwback Thursday thing is really cool. And I've heard from a lot of people that really like it. So, you know, let's get that up. And is there like a Spanish Facebook?
We don't have a specific Spanish Facebook page. We've considered that.
No, I mean, does Facebook have a Spanish Facebook?
Oh, no. What they do, they automatically translate posts into the language set by the user.
Oh, okay.
So that's how Facebook manages all the different languages of the users. But we're currently specifically translating the post to make sure that we get the most correct translation possible to the Spanish-speaking community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Sorry. What do you mean by authorized users of city platforms?
So that's in the social media policy. Basically, if one of our staff members is recommended to be an admin of one of our city social media platforms, they have a form that they need to fill out.
Got
they
it.
need to agree that they
One of
read
our
the
employees
policy.
as an admin. I got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Tovar.
Oh, thank you. Just a quick comment. I want to commend you on the great job that you've been doing. I tend to go on our website and social media a lot and see. It's great to see, you know, lately you see a lot of job postings, opening and stuff. And I get a lot of people saying, well, it's neat that the city is really opening up and showcasing their jobs. And I think from everyone I've heard, they said you guys are doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, Councilmember Bracco.
On Saturday when we were down here, remember that lady brought up, she said that it says that our...
It's incorrect. It's corrected.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about the website that was supposedly not secure?
Yeah.
It is secure, only none of us has her contact information to tell her that it's secure. So maybe if she's watching.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And that was followed up by another person who was here too, who sent an email to all of us explaining what the problem was and that it has been fixed. And we just need to communicate that to her if any of us sees her. Thank you, though, for bringing that up. Okay, thank you, Rochelle.
And Madam Mayor, the last item I have is a quick discussion explaining a potential ballot measure that staff will be bringing forward either on June 20th or, July 5th, which would allow the city to do design-build contracts in a nutshell. Right now, the city has to bid out the design, get those bids back, then bid out the construction. As you can imagine, on some of our large projects, like a potential Sharks project, the city's parking lot, Gourmet Alley, anything in the multi-million dollars, this adds a significant amount of time to these projects. And many communities and charter cities have put this on the ballot as recent as 2020, the city of Santa Cruz did. And it's typically a simple paragraph amendment in the charter that allows this type of competitive bidding. The Santa Cruz measure passed with over 80%. Actually. So we have reached out to some of our partners in labor and our partners in the business community to get some feedback. And so far the feedback has been, very minimal. And so we don't expect this to be very controversial, but I do want to let you know that this is something we are looking at in order to get projects out faster. Some of the things that we will recommend doing is that this would be for projects over $1 million and also allowing for the increase of a formal bid amount from $35,000 to $200,000. The $35,000 has been in our charter for decades, and a lot of communities have gone to a higher level. This will also assist some of the smaller businesses in getting some work because of the threshold it takes to submit a bid is quite expensive and quite restrictive. So this will encourage some of that work to stay local, as we'll say, and also for smaller companies as well. So this is just the introduction. Again, we don't typically think about changing the charter or bringing a ballot measure to you, but in this instance, with the number of large projects that we have coming up, we have the time to get it on there. It doesn't add significant cost to the city, and it would be included in the November general election. So I'd be happy to answer any quick questions you have on it, but we will certainly be talking with council more over the next couple of council meetings. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Councilmember LaRomanos?
Yeah, Jimmy, I think you hit on it the last statement you just made about potential cost. In the sense that we've obviously already got a ballot, that's going to be out there. What kind of costs are we looking at?
Well, Ty, you want to?
Yes, since the fact that we're consolidated with the November 8th general election with our council member elections already, it would be just a minimal administrative cost to around an extra $30,000 per se. So it won't be as expensive compared to doing it outside of a general election.
Which can run, I believe, in the hundreds of thousands. Is that correct?
3 figures, 6 figures at the very least, yes.
Or 6 figures, okay.
Yes.
Never mind. I'll leave it there. No, that sounds like a relative bargain. And I think this also does put us in a good competitive position as well, because we know that delays provide that, they cause a lot of uncertainty, and we've seen that before, where projects sometimes leave our city as a result of the time it takes. So.
Well, and it's excuse me, Councilmember Tovar, I know
please.
you're in line there, but just in my time on the council, the time it goes from when we bid the design to the time then we see it back here for construction has been so long that the price has doubled. And so that's what we're trying to address. The charter is old, and it made perfect sense at the time, but now the cost of things are so large, and we've just had the parking lot where that was one example. We're going to have the fire station, coming up. We hope to have the Sharks arenas coming up. And so for things that are this large, that kind of a delay makes it impossible to build at the budget that you set at the time that you set it. And so that's what this is trying to address, and only that, not anything else. Okay, Councilmember Tovar.
No, thank you, Mary. No, you both sort of asked the question I was looking for, so it's been answered. But to Mr. Forbes, can you just remind the public, because I know people are anxiously waiting, in regards to the parking lot on 7th and Needleberry, when that's going to get going?
I'm going to ask our Public Works Director to give you the exact timeline.
Mr. Tovar, what was your question on that?
Again, I know the parking lot's going to sort of start construction soon, and I know a lot of folks, especially the businesses, are really anxious on when that's going to happen. Can you just remind us where we're at in that stage and when construction may begin?
You bet. We just kicked off the project this last week with the contractor, and as of today, we approved the notice that's going to go out to all of the neighbors this next week to give them a 2-week notice that we will be commencing construction out there. So it's happening right away.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Maybe sometime down the road, we can address that the charter assumes everybody's a man. Okay? We'll address that at some point in the future, too. Okay? But not this time. We'll keep this one clean. Okay. All right. City Attorney's reports.
I have no report. Would you like me to introduce the closed session?
Yes, please.
All right. We do have a closed session. It's a conference with labor negotiators, collective bargaining units pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 and Gilroy City Code Section 17A11.4. Collective bargaining units are AFSCME Local 101 General and Supervisory Units, representing employees affiliated with AFSCME Local 101, Local 2805 IAFF Fire Unit, representing Gilroy firefighters, Gilroy Management Association representing mid-management employees, unrepresented exempt employees, confidential department heads and council appointed, unrepresented confidential non-exempt employees, part-time temporary seasonal employees, hourly and exempt. Oh, it's a lot. All right, city negotiators are Jimmy Forbes and Leanne McPhillips. Anticipated issues under negotiation are wages, hours, benefits, working conditions, memorandums of understanding, City of Gilroy and Gilroy firefighters, Local 2805, City of Gilroy and AFSCME, Local 101 General and Supervisory Units, City of Gilroy and Gilroy Management Association, GMA. So the next step is to receive public comment, and then once the council goes into closed session, take a vote on whether to remain, and that vote is a reportable action.
Okay. So first I'll open the public comment period.
I received no speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
All right. Closing public comment. I'd like to...
So we do not need to vote to go into closed session. We need to go into closed session and then vote to remain.
Right. So there's no vote needed right now. I would like to suggest a 5-minute recess. If we could all be back by, just say 10 of, even it's a little less than 5 minutes, but it's enough time, I think. And to please ask everyone to turn off your mics now, and then we'll be back at 10 minutes of 8.